Up now, we have Team Tethered with their app, Tethered, and we're going to go straight over to Tom.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name's Tom, and I'm a proud member of Team Tethered. I'm joined today by Ellis, who's going to talk through how we came up with the idea for Tethered and what exactly it is, and some of the challenges we've faced along the way. And Sam, who's going to talk through our methodology and tech stack. Unfortunately, one of our teammates, Scott, isn't able to be with us today. However, I think all three of us would agree that the app wouldn't be what it is without his hard work. So just wanted to give a shout out to him. But without any further ado, I'll hand over to Ellis.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So what is Tethered? So Tethered is a social cycling app, which makes it easier for people who are cycling in a group to communicate with each other. The idea was inspired by a conversation I had with my girlfriend's dad. He's a keen cyclist and he tends to go on a lot of long distance cycles. And he said that in the past there have been several occasions where some individual has been lost from the group. This could be due to, for example, a flat tire, or taking the wrong turn, or going through some thick fog and not being sure who came out first, and things like that. And basically sort of suggested to me that something that he would like and would find useful would be some form of map where he can see the location of all the people who he's in the group with in real time. And so that's what we decided to make. So there are three key components of the app that we created. So the first is that the user has the ability to create a group, so a cycle group, which other people can join before they go out on a trip. So other users can then join that group by scanning a QR code. It's nice and simple. We also have a map feature, which will show the location of everyone who's in that group, and everybody else in the group can see their location. And finally, we have sort of a rudimentary notification system and a live chat, which basically keeps the group connected as when they go out on a trip. So that's a basic summary of what Tethered does. So I'll now hand you back to Tom, who will go through the demo with you.
Thanks, Alice. Yeah, let's take a look at Tethered in action. So we'll start off on our login screen. Simply log in as an existing user, which will take us through to the group screen, where there's previous groups that you've already signed up to. And if we select on one of them, let's go for friends, you can see that Ellis is an approved member, Monica being the group leader, and there's the QR code to invite anyone else. There are also pending members who are yet to be approved that only the leader can see. But today, Ellis is going to create his own group. So we click on the Create Group button, enter in a new name, and this will generate a unique QR code that will link specifically to this group that anyone can click on the Join Group button and scan with the inbuilt camera feature. So creating the group, that'll take us through. Ellis is the leader, no approved or pending members as of yet. So let's give this a go as someone new signing up to the app. So if we log out as Ellis, we'll then sign up as someone new, and let's go for Sam in this case. Can sign up. Unfortunately, Sam's not going to have any groups on his page, but that'll change quite quickly. So he's going to click the Join Group option and have the camera feature straight away to scan that QR code. There we go. And immediately it's put in an approval request for Ellis to agree to, which I'm sure he will. We've got on well throughout the project. Soon enough, that'll take him through to the lobby with three of us there ready to go. Now, as soon as we click that Start Trip button, it will immediately start tracking all three locations and plot them on a map. The map will zoom in on all three locations, and then as we move, the map will again pan out to fit all those in. You'll notice that the current user Sam is in orange, and you can click on each individual icon and zoom in on them, and then toggle the group view feature to bring the map out to the correct level, making sure that you know where everyone is at any one time whilst on a trip. Now it looks, for in this example, that Sam is struggling to get going. Maybe he's got a puncture, or maybe he's just set off a bit late. But as the two icons continue to move, eventually an alert will trigger on all the group members' phones. And that should happen shortly. And that will ping up and let everyone know that there is a distance too large between two of the icons and two of the members. And there we go. Immediately it changes over, everyone knows. And this is where the members can toggle the chat feature. Sam can quickly go in and send a message, potentially letting everyone know what's causing the delay, or in this case, that we simply left him behind. That will immediately come up on everyone else's chat, and they can send back another message to let them know where to meet them or when to meet up, or simply, we'll wait for you to catch us up. Going back to the map page, we can then toggle the group view once again, and it'll zoom out and show everyone's locations for Sam to be able to find them and get caught up soon enough. And then finally, there is the end trip button that will stop sharing locations immediately, providing a safe and secure trip, and take you back to the login screen. And that is Tethered. I'll now hand over to Sam, who's going to talk you through the methodology and the tech that we used.
Thanks, Tom. Of course, Team Tethered would leave no one behind. We'd all stick together. I'm going to go through the methodology. So right at the start of the project, we wanted to use the Agile methodology, and we decided to use Kanban. Here you can see our Trello board. The start of the setting up Trello board, we went through all the user stories, and then we decided on our MVP, our minimal viable product. The user stories that weren't in the MVP were kept to one side and are nice to have. We then went through each user story of the MVP, assigned them to users, decided where per programming was needed, where mob programming was needed, for example, connecting the front end and the back end. This Trello board was a massive help, especially later on in the project when we had some issues. We also had daily stand-ups just to reinforce what was going on with the Trello board. So as you can see, we've got a in progress section, we've got an issues section. The daily stand-ups, we had the daily stand-ups had we went through what we had done the previous day, what we'd done the current day, and any issues we were having. We also had a Slack and Zoom calls throughout the project and kept all team members in the loop. Next, I'll just go through the tech stack on the next slide. Thank you. So the good thing about Team Tethered is the team were ambitious. We're all excited to use any new tech and to expand our knowledge. But the first thing we started with, what do we need to make the Tethered app? We needed it to be a mobile app. The team members had a selection of devices. We had some iOS, some Android. So we decided to use React Native with Expo. We also needed maps. So we decided to use Google Maps. We then needed to share location, and we wanted that location to be shared to a database and then pushed out to all of the devices in real time. For this, we use Cloud Firestore and a NoSQL real-time database. The location data was pushed to the database, but only when it was on the map screen. We wanted this to be a feature because you wanted to limit the number of reads and writes to the database, make sure there's no unnecessary charges from Google for using the Firestore. Security was also an important part of the tech. So we wanted the location to only be shared with certain people. So we knew we needed user profiles. For this, we used Firebase authentication. We used Jest for testing. We were all comfortable with Jest. We'd learned on the Northcoders course. We also use languages such as JavaScript and a bit of Python. And finally, we used GitHub for our version control. We implemented a security rule at the beginning of the project to ensure that no one could push to the main branch. Any merge requests needed to be approved by another member of the team. And it was very helpful later on when we came up with a few merge issues and a few challenges. I'll pass it over back to Ellis just to speak about the challenges.
Thanks, Sam. So yeah, as Sam said, I'll quickly go over some of the challenges that we had on the project. The first of which was narrowing down the minimum viable product. So once we decided that we were going to go with the cycling app, we sort of quickly realized there were so many different things that we could incorporate into the app. But then simultaneously, the project was only around 10 days. So we figured that not everything that we thought of was going to end up in the final product. So we initially did a lot of planning, wireframing and spiking. And we came up with an MVP, which we thought was going to be achievable, but also kind of met the core of what we were trying to do in the project. And then we separated that out from a few nice to have features that we would add in once the MVP had been complete. In relation to that first point, we wanted to make sure the MVP was complete before we started adding the nice to haves, and sometimes it could be quite tempting to go and start working on a new flashy feature before we finish the MVP. But obviously we didn't want to do that, so we kind of had a few processes in place. So firstly, having the Trello board there with the user stories for the MVP helped keep us on track. Also the daily stand-ups made sure that everyone was on the same level and everybody knew what each other was doing. And finally, we had Sam on the team who would quite often sort of raise the question: is this really part of the MVP? Just to keep us on track. So it's quite nice to have somebody who made sure we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. So we also used a real-time database in Firestore, and this presented quite a lot of different challenges to what we've typically done on the course. Normally, so on the course, we had quite a lot of occasions where we would just like load up a page and then read some data from the database. But we weren't exactly sure at first how Firestore was going to work with React on the front end. But we managed to spend a lot of time in the documentation and got that working quite quickly with the front end. And I think I speak for the rest of the group when I say that it was really satisfying to see changes on the back end that be reflected almost instantly in the front end, and it provided a really nice user experience. As Sam alluded to, despite having some Git practices in place, we did have some merging issues. But usually when this happened, we would all get together and do some mob programming and resolve these issues quite quickly. So in terms of live testing of the app, because we were all working remotely and in separate locations and using Expo to display React native, it was difficult to test the locations and the movements on the map. So to get around this, we basically created a location spoofer, which would allow users on the phone to see the map re-rendering as other users were moving on the map. And then finally, just I'm sure many other groups have mentioned today, but the time constraints from the project, from the get-go, we were under quite a lot of pressure, and we learned quickly that we need to make decisions fast. And in addition to that, we had some other external factors which made it more difficult. So obviously, remote working was quite difficult, and we spent a long time on Zoom. But also things like Scott's roof blowing off his house just at the start of the project, which is not an ideal way to start, to say the least. But yeah, I think overall we managed to tackle all of these challenges really well. I think as a team we communicated really well. We were really supportive of each other and would step in if anyone was having any issues. And yeah, we all took responsibility and we're keen to try new things. So yeah, I think that's how we managed to get the MVP and some nice to haves in before finishing. So that concludes the presentation. This was our app Tethered, and we look forward to answering any questions that you might have.